Hi, it's Arlie. I'm going to film a flip through of a sketchbook I just completed, and at the same time, I'm going to go through some thoughts that I've been having lately, questions about where I'm going next, why I don't like my own art, and I'm not fishing for compliments, so don't do that. I looked some things up and read some articles and all that stuff, so I'm going to see if I can sort of have that conversation off the cuff as I flip through the sketchbook. And if you don't want to listen to all that talking and stuff, you're welcome to mute the sound and just look at the sketchbook without all the talking and stuff. Thanks for watching. So I didn't do very well at presentations in high school, and you're going to see why in a minute, because I really feel like discussing something off the cuff is more real than something that's rehearsed. But I did write some notes, and I put them in here so that I can talk about, as I flip through, I can talk about my notes as I flip through. Okay, so this book is a handbook journal made by Speedball Arts. So sketchbooks for me have become a place to practice, explore, and experiment. I know that if I don't like something, I can just flip the page and it's gone, it's done. I can continue to practice whatever I was trying to practice, or I can just blow it off and move on. You might hear artists use the word junk, and it's not meant to be like a put down, but it's more like, the way I look at it is, if you're a marathon runner, it's not the sketchbook isn't the marathon. The sketchbook is the getting up in the morning and running around the block a few times to keep your, to learn your breath and learn your steps, and you practice it. They're little drills. And so the sketchbook is your junk. And it's really difficult to come up with words that describe it's junk, or it's castaways, or it's practice. And when I use these words, I'm not looking for compliments. I'm never looking for compliments. It's really just my way of saying I can take it or leave it. It was more about the experience of doing it. Sketchbooks are portable, so that's the main, just number one reason that they're so much better than taping a piece of watercolor paper to a big board that you have to carry wherever, and then put it in the back of your car. And also, once you've finished one, it becomes a memento of, whatever you are working on. So I started this in September of 22, and it's currently January of 24. So this is like a year and a half of work. And then I don't want to make this too long of a video, so I'm going to try to be pretty quick about it. I already said the thing about how watercolor looks desaturated, but because this is smooth paper, drawing works really well on top, and also gouache. I ended up using gouache a lot more in this book, and it helped me enjoy it more. This is urban sketching. I took this with me to see my mom, and she was in the hospital and wasn't ready. So I went to the seashore, and I was in Canada, and the Queen had just died overnight. And so while I was painting and drawing this, I was listening to people who were walking nearby talking about the Queen. It was interesting. Back in my hotel room, trying to figure out how to make this book work for me. I thought I had this image that I was going to do an urban sketching style with a lot of writing in it. And I started that way, and I ended up not liking that format in this book. But, just trying out because I see other people do it, and I think, I want to try that. And this didn't really work for me. I don't really like my own handwriting about half the time. This I do like this. This was done at the airport, surreptitiously sneaking looks at this couple. So just wanted to say a little bit more about sketchbooks. The smaller the sketchbook, the quicker you can fill a page. So if you want to have a feeling of accomplishment, get one that's smaller. I think this is a 5 by 8, but 4x6 is postcard size, so you could actually cut the pages out and send them in the mail, stick a stamp on them. Smooth pages are better for drawing with pen, pencil, colored pencil. Hot press is usually a smoother paper. Cold press is usually the bumpy ones that I finally have decided I do like. I didn't used to like them. 100% cotton is often considered better. This is subjective. I have some paper, some sketchbooks on paper that I like that isn't 100% cotton, but if you're shopping for a sketchbook, you might choose 100% cotton. The thickness of the pages is going to make a difference whether you can work on both sides, because if you do maybe a dark color or work with marker, it might bleed through or show on the other side. And if you paint and the paper is thin, it'll get that wrinkly thing going on. So if you do get one where the paper is too thin, you might consider only working on one side and then keep the back, or maybe pencil notes on the back instead of working on the both sides of a sheet. And then just about sketchbooks in general, because you're going to close the book and put it on your shelves, presumably, you don't need to worry about whether anything is light fast. And, or, you know, if you do a watercolor, you have to think about, how am I going to frame it? How am I going to present it? With a sketchbook, you just close the page. And if it is something that's smudgy, you can fix it. You can spray fix it. I use this. You can spray fix it, or you could just put a piece of paper in between. And a lot of artists just would scan the page and then use the digital reproduction and, you know, put it on print it or whatever. So those are my why sketchbooks are great. This is the question that I'm gonna try to answer. So this is pumpkins that sprouts. This is another example of, I just couldn't get the colors to pop. So instead I worked on something else and worked on trying to make this look like reflective glass. And I think I did okay. I can't remember which order I did this in, whether I drew first and then painted, but I played around with using paper towels to soak up the paint just to see what would happen. This is from a picture I took on Google Street View, and these buildings are actually sort of very pale Adobe pink in Google Street View. This is a question, and it's just like the word junk. It's not really meant to be, I mean, it isn't really meant, I'm not saying this definitively enough. This is not me fishing for compliments. This is me thinking, why do I look at all of my art and not like it? What's going on? What's the reason? Why don't I like my own art? Every once in a while I do, and so I put that on that page, but I actually do, I like these and I like this. What I'd like to do is to figure out why do I like this? What is it that I like about it? So that's part of the work that I need to do. I realized that when I look at my work, sometimes I like it because I remember the experience of doing it and it was fun putting the colors down. But then I look back on it and I think it's not pretty. And that's right now, that's what I want. I want art that's pretty. So I did a bunch of reading. And by the way, I have some sort of raw notes with, I asked ChatGPT and I read some articles, and I'm just gonna put it in the description, and you're welcome to follow the links or skim through those notes and see if you come to similar answers, or I don't know. I'm not doing this to tell anyone how to think or what to do. I just wanted to see if I could follow a certain thought line and come to a resolution, or follow an idea and sort of talk it through and see if it's helpful to someone else. I know it's been helpful for me to put this together. I took this thought, it's not pretty, and then I started thinking about the word pretty. And I realized that pretty, well, you know, especially in the US, we we women, we people, are fed a line about what is pretty. And then I thought, you know, maybe pretty is too superficial, and maybe I need to think about beauty. So that's the direction I went, was thinking more about beauty than what is pretty. And so that's where my reading started. You know, let me go back to this. I took this picture in New York City, and it's actually part of a much larger picture, but the thing that I liked was the umbrellas. So I think I cropped it in my phone first and then drew it out and painted it. And this is gouache, and I don't know if you can see, but you also need to know that depending on which pencils you use. So I drew with a regular pencil on top of gouache. Gouache is flat, has no reflection, and then the pencil has shininess. And so it, depending on whether you want that to be intentional or not, I kind of like how that turned out. So this one was fun. I don't like it, but I remember thinking, oh, cool, look at this. This is neat. What a fun fact. This is a watercolor of a famous painting. This is me trying to learn watercolor. It's an exercise that I saw online where you paint a circle and then you get another color and you paint another circle, and you sort of, in a controlled way, allow them to connect with each other. And so this isn't meant to be art at all. It's meant to be an exercise. This is the only one I think that's in the wrong orientation. The nice thing about gouache, which I love, is that if you don't like your painting, you can just keep painting over it and keep painting over it. And so I think this is probably like an inch thick because I kept painting over it and painting over it, trying to figure out, which I didn't accomplish, how to make the orange look translucent. But if you saw this plate that I have downstairs, I captured this plate almost exactly. It's this cool vintage kind of, well, it's this color, I guess, what would that be, coral plate. I don't love this. Well, that's the point of this whole talk. I don't really like any of it because it's all kind of junk, but I like little things. And so that's my job now. That's my work, is to go through and see if I can figure out what I do like, and then obviously do more of that. So I looked up a whole number of articles about pretty versus beautiful. I asked GPT, is pretty different from beautiful? What's interesting about I don't really know where GPT, I don't know why I can't say that, where it gets its information, I have no idea, but I asked it a couple of questions, and it grammatically was great. The lists were great. It listed things 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stuff like that. It was supportive, or it wasn't. The words felt supportive, non-judgy, and especially non-judgy because you're talking to basically a robot. So it was really weird asking that. Just out of curiosity, I asked, how do you write an obituary? And it said something like, first, basically, I'm very sorry for your loss, which is such a funny thing for a robot basically to say. So I had a conversation with GPT about the difference between pretty and beautiful, and why I don't like my own art. I have no idea what I was working on here. This was from a photo, I believe. Oh, I know what I was working on here. I don't know how people do it. I'm still working on this, but how do you make things in the distance go farther away? I mean, I know, but it's really hard once I'm actually painting to make it happen. So these should have been much more faded and lighter and sort of bluer. But I look at the photo and I think, but they're not. That tree is green, so I'm gonna paint it green. And I have this sort of like, my common sense overrides what I'm trying, my vision. And then I end up with something that I don't like. Here's another practice. This was gouache. I've been trying to paint every day, and I think I've pretty much painted every day for a couple of years. And sometimes you just have no ideas, so you just sit down and just start. And this is from a little sculpture. I took a photo of it. So I just drew it a few times and then painted it. And this is from a photo I took in Japan with drawing on top. Interrupted watercolor. I don't know why it was interrupted. I think I actually was on location painting it, and then we had to move, or it started raining or something. This is I have to feel it to see if it's watercolor or gouache. I think this is watercolor from a photo I took in Japan. I get really hung up on like how to make it look realistic, but then the whole thing about being an artist is I'm not trying to make it look realistic. I have a photo. If you want to see realism, look at the photo. So that's kind of this weird line that I'm writing right now. I'm gonna go make my dog stop barking. So basically, Chat GPT and I decided that pretty is superficial and visually pleasing, and that beautiful is a deeper experience that extends beyond the surface. And so here's my my longer notes about it. I realized that pretty is a subset of beautiful, and that it's okay for me to have pretty as a goal. And my final goal or ultimate goal could be that I'm looking to make my work beautiful, and it's okay if I just work on this for now. So that's where I am. This is from a photo that I took at my mom's house of some honeysuckle. Another photo I took near her house. I kind of do like this one with the fun little umbrellas. Sharky's Seafood Bar and Grill in Ladner, British Columbia. I remember this day I was feeling very like I'm an artist, I can do whatever I want. And I had just gotten some new colors. So I did just an abstract landscape of just colors. Although I think this is pretty, it doesn't feel like Arlie. So I'm glad I did it, but I'm not really sure it conveys me. So there's that. This is another from a photo in actually near Ladner. Actually the walk that we went on here, we walked past waterways here. So this is what ChatGPT and I have decided, is that pretty is a combination of aesthetic elements. That's color, line, texture, composition. Skill is, basically how well you handle your pen, brush, paint, that kind of thing. Balance and harmony, that's also composition, but it's also, thinking about symmetry and balance of, like in a photograph, I know that it's nice to have a black and a white and then the grays in between, so that would be balance of gray tones. Balance and harmony, achieving a balance and harmony in the composition and design of an artwork often contributes to its beauty, whether through symmetry or intentional asymmetry. A sense of balance can create a visually pleasing experience. That's ChatGPT. And then subjective response. I think this is the core. That's like, do I like it? Is it pleasing? And then some of the articles that are in my description are about, basically there's a part of your brain that's stimulated that says, ooh, I like it. And I know it's different in different cultures and how you're raised and maybe how, I don't want to say educated, sort of refined your taste has become in whatever. And I was talking to my son about this, and I said, in some cultures, the tribe where the women wear those neck jewelry that makes their necks look long, they desire that, and it's for them beautiful. But I look at it and I think, oh, that looks awful. That would be so uncomfortable. Yet I'm probably doing something that they would think is like, why would you do that? So subjective response, I think, is probably the most important thing. And this is what I feel like this is what my problem is. So I'm feeling pretty good about most of my aesthetic elements. I need to work on color. My skill, that's what I have been working on for a few years. Balance and harmony, I feel pretty comfortable with that, especially since I've been a photographer since I was a little kid. So I can see that I have a lot of work to do here. I have to figure out what it is that I like. And then here, I feel like I'm still not in command of colors. So that's pretty. Remember this, because pretty is a subset of beautiful. And so what makes something beautiful is not only is it pretty. So you see what I'm saying? I think pretty is important. It has meaning. It could be personal, cultural, political, whatever. It has originality and creativity. And basically you just don't want to see copying and mimicking and same old thing. And context. And let's see if I can look up context. Here it says cultural and historical context. Understanding the cultural and historical context of an artwork can enhance its beauty. Art that reflects or challenges societal norms, captures a particular moment in history, or resonates with cultural significance may be perceived as more beautiful by those who appreciate contextual depth. In a way, when I'm doing the urban sketching, I think I'm doing a little bit of context. Or if I were doing an illustration for a story, this would be context. So I think maybe these are the two areas I could work on next, but right now I'm going to focus on this. But I'm actually going to take these two, put them up somewhere where I can see them and remember them, because I think this is the core of what I am working on. Roses from a photo. You see how the yellow kind of went dull? This book just didn't really work for me. From a photo. Also from a photo, maybe. Yeah, from a photo. More practicing painting. So this is about a year ago. Starting to understand watercolor. The combination of painting and drawing, I think, is what makes me happy. I really like drawing. I feel very in my comfort zone. And also painting still has kind of a blurry, messy, sloppy look. And then when I go and draw on top, it snaps everything into place. Like, you know, not being very good at painting lines yet, I was able to go back in with, I think this is either pencil or colored pencil, and add this little thingy finial at the top, and then add this fence. And I don't know about you, but when I look at this, my eyes go right down this fence, and I think that's fun. And then, you know, you look at the blue, and maybe you look at the building a little bit, but then you go back to the fence, and you go down the fence. And so that's kind of fun to use line to lead the eye around the page. So I don't really like this, but I like that about it. I think these are just two different kinds of watercolors. I don't know if you can see this, but the blue, the dark blue is sparkly. That's Beam paints. They have mica. I forget what the name of that color is. It's like night blue or star blue or night sky. There we go. Ooh. So, and then this was a different set of colors. But the question still is, why don't I like my own art? And so I think I've sort of covered what the problem is, how I need to see it as a structure, how kind of what my next steps are. I also asked GPT. I don't know, I want to say GBT. It must be something like gross product, or I don't know, I must have something stuck in my head. But anyway, a ChatGPT, why I don't like my own art. And it said the nicest thing. So it said, feeling dissatisfied with your own artwork is a common experience among artists, even those who are highly skilled and accomplished. There are several reasons why you might not like your own art, and understanding these factors can help you navigate and overcome these feelings. And then it came up with a whole list, and then I condensed the list and kind of made my own version of its list because I like its list. It says that high standards is one of the reasons. And so part of the problem with having high standards is that your expectations are very high, and you might know that your potential is to achieve something, but sometimes your ability doesn't match your potential. So I guess what I'm saying is there's this range and there are all these factors. And so you might have a vision and an expectation of what you think is going to happen, but your current ability is, what you're going to do today. And sometimes they're not the same. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the saying that I have in my head that I've had for a long time is expectations can lead to disappointments. What I need to do is just to remember that I can lower my expectation, or I can just be more realistic about what my expectations are in light of what I am able to do. And then maybe I will like it better. Oh, this one. I really knew what I wanted this to look like, and it doesn't look anything like it. So I just turned it into a practice. This is really an example of my ability not meeting my vision at all. It's okay. Another day when I just had some time and didn't want to do anything, so I just did circles. Another reason I might not like my art is self-criticism. If you know me, you know that I talk about this little group of people that sit in my head and blab at me. When I do art, it's a whole conference table full of art critics, and some of them are saying, you can't do that. You can't put that color next to that color. Why did you do that? Oh, that's awful. This is never going to work. And they're just blabbing at me the whole time that I'm working. Actually, sometimes I'll go get a glass of wine because that quiets them down a little bit, but obviously that's not a good solution. What I need to do is I need to allow the criticism, but I need it to be balanced and constructive. Maybe I need to keep a piece of paper next to me and jot down thoughts, or try to build the voices inside my head, which makes me sound like I'm schizophrenic. Try to build the voices that are more helpful. Keep track so that I don't have to keep hearing the same thing over and over. I remember thinking that I liked this when I was doing it, but looking at it now, I don't like it. But I think it's actually because this paper makes everything look desaturated. But I enjoyed doing it. I love drawing on top of gouache. Gouache has sort of a scratchy quality, and drawing on top of it has a very satisfying, it's really satisfying. It's fun. That one gets 5 stars in funness. So this is a big one. I mean, it's a big painting, but this is a big point. Comparison to others is a really big reason why I don't like my own work. And Instagram is a blessing and a curse. I love Instagram and Pinterest. Often what I do is I find someone I like on Pinterest, then I hunt them down and try to find their website, try to find them on Instagram, and then go follow them. That's sort of my little, while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning. So I wrote a note to myself to remember I have my own voice and style, and everyone progresses at their own pace. This is the kind of thing you can say, and I just said it, but it's hard to remember. So maybe this is one of those things I need to put up in front of me, or have it tucked into the front of one of my sketchbooks, or maybe I need to say it like a little prayer. Here's what GPT said. Constantly comparing your work to that of other artists, especially those you admire, can lead to feelings of inadequacy. Remember that each artist has a unique voice and style, and everyone progresses at their own pace. Insecurity. Art is my own expression, and never mind the opinions of others. This is also about that little audience of critics sitting in my head. I'm not quite sure why I'm insecure, because I should be very secure. I've built a career as a photographer, and graphic artist, and I'm quite secure, and I don't know, maybe there's something about drawing and painting that feels very personal. I guess I really care whether people like it or not. And in graphic design, I can just, if I'm doing what the client asks me and they're happy with it, that's all that matters. And I don't have to like it. And so here I have to like it, and I think that's what I'm dealing with. There's a difference between doing art for yourself and doing it for hire. I think about cooks. You know, you might be a chef, and you might have a sweet tooth, and that's what you love, and so you'll go home and make yourself sweet things. But your job is to make hamburgers and steaks, and you make them well, you make them for other people, you know what people like, but it's not what you would eat. I guess that's the difference between being a graphic artist and a fine artist. This YouTube suggested this musician, and I watched this one video of this kid. He looks older here than in the video, and he's playing guitar, and it was the most amazing song. And I looked him up, and I found out that I'm the last person in the world to realize that he's a very talented musician, and he played Coachella, and he has albums out, and he won a Grammy. I wanted to, in urban sketching style, commemorate video that I watched. This is from a photo that I took at Central Park. Not too pleased with it, but it's like what I was saying about junk. This is me practicing for a marathon by running around the block. Hey Trixie, you're a good girl. You wanna come down here? Good girl. Oh, good girl. Good girl. You stay inside with me if you want. Chat GPT. But one of the reasons I might not like my own work is because of my artistic growth. It might be a sign of growth, and that I should embrace the process, celebrate the progress. I totally can do that. Yes, I do this. I know. And I can see it, like I was saying, a sketchbook is a memento. I can see my progress just in this one book. I actually do like this one. I still like it. Usually I only like the last thing I did, but I continue to like this one, which really surprises me. Part of what I did that was different was I actually thought about how I was going to do it instead of just starting, which is unusual for me. I tend to be sort of impetuous, just taking a little bit of time to think it through. And especially with watercolor, because you need to allow an area to dry before you put something else down. And so I did the sky, and then I did the ground, and then after this was dry, I could add the trees and so on. I remember feeling excited doing this one and thinking I better stop before I screw it up. Because that's another thing, is knowing when to stop. So the sky really was this color. It was early morning and near my mom's house. The sky was pink because it was sunrise, but also because there were wildfires nearby. So it turned everything this pink. And then recently I've been thinking about trees. I feel like trees are like the people of the world. Like they're like the beings that I want to represent when I do nature. They're all different, they're all the same. They have a presence that I want to capture. I'm pretty comfortable doing people and objects and cars and stuff, so I don't really care to try very hard. I don't know if that makes any sense. But trees, I want to figure out what my way of doing a tree is. There's an artist, I'm spacing out on her name right now, but I'll add it here. If you've watched my other videos, you know I love her work. I love the way she does trees, but I don't want to copy her. So I look at her trees and I think I want to have my way of doing trees the way she has her way of doing trees. Chat GPT said perfectionism might be one of the reasons. Here goes the other dog outside. Perfectionism might be one of the reasons I don't like my own work. So I need to see the imperfections as part of the process and opportunities for growth, which is exactly what a sketchbook is. A whole sketchbook is all about imperfection. So both these pages are gouache. You can kind of tell by the kind of flat quality. I know exactly what I don't like about this one. I made this guy too saturated. I think the trick is I need to, I think I'm ready to work on color. You can see how the pencil line here transferred over here. I probably should spray this. Remind me to do that. And then I actually do like this one. You can see the white of the paper right here. I actually, in watercolor style, left the white as paper, that's how you do in watercolor. That which you want to be white, you leave as paper. And I did that in gouache. So these are both images from Google Street View, which is really fun. Oh, and I didn't talk about this. Emotional attachment might be one of the reasons I don't like my own work. I want to be able to separate my feelings from my technique and aesthetics, which that doesn't really make sense. Let me read it. If your art is deeply personal or emotionally charged, it may be challenging to separate your feelings about the artwork from the technical or aesthetic aspects. Give yourself time and distance if needed to gain a more objective perspective. Well, I don't know. I think because I'm not trying to have meaning in any of my work right now, I don't have much of an emotional attachment, except I just have my expectations. I don't know if expectations count as emotions. This is Google Street View. I think it was Brazil or something. This is from a photo that I took. I like this one. This one I did something that I think I want to try to do more. It's called using a mother color. There are different ways to look at it, different ways to set it up. But what you do is you pick a color, and I forget which color I picked. I think it might have been this pink. And you add a tiny bit of it to everything else. And that gives, just like when you add a filter to an Instagram picture, it adds an overall harmony of tone to your painting. The other thing that you can do is you create a combination color using all of your colors. Like let's say you have 6 colors out on your palette. You take a little bit of each and you create sort of a muted color, because this is probably what it would end up, either a brown or a gray. Then you take a little bit of that and you add it back in to all of your colors, and it brings them all down a little bit in saturation, but I mean, not a lot, but it adds that tone, and it adds, every color has a little bit of every other color, and it makes it look more harmonious. And I think that's that kind of deliberate choice that I need to make before I start working, and I think that's where I am right now in my process. I did it here. Sorry if this video is very long. I'm trying to do a flip through and basically a lecture. These are both from Google Street View, which is just a great way to practice whatever you're trying to practice. I thought I'd do some buildings. Another thing about working small is you can't put in detail. There was a lot more detail. There were, grates on the windows and stuff. I did add the siding on the barn here, but it forces you to let go of detail to work small. Here's this persimmon again that was in the beginning. Let's look at so here's this one, and then there's this one. Oops, sorry, and then there's that one. This time what I wanted to work on was there's really not very much white on a white plate, if that makes sense. The nuances of this white plate reflecting everything around it. And gouache tends to dry darker, watercolor tends to dry lighter. So when I was painting this, it actually was much lighter. Then it turned dark as it dried, and I'm okay with that. This is me trying to figure out the trees. And this was just 2 months ago. Oh, I had a note. Oh, what do I think is pretty? So I think this is This is what I need to work on next. Right now it's mid-January. I think I need to do a little work on this. I need to look at other people's work and my own work and try to come up with really specific, like I like that blue, or the way they did that one stroke. Like I need to really get down into the nitty gritty and see if I can figure out exactly what I think is pretty, what pleases me, and go back to the, the other things I talked about earlier. So I came up with a ABC, a 3-part plan. And by the way, this is a Google Street View of a scene in Brazil. I really liked this pink building, and so I kept painting it painting it. I was going to say drawing it, but I painted and then I drew. In this case I drew and then I painted. I painted, then I drew. I just kept trying to, this is an example of, I didn't like it because it wasn't matching the vision I had in my head, so I kept doing it and kept doing it. And it works, I think, for me to do that, to keep, because then I was like, I like that part, I don't like that part, I don't need that part. This was watercolor and colored pencil. And this was watercolor and colored pencil, but this, I started with the watercolor. I think I made the sky too dark. So what I need to do is look at art by others and my own art and come up with what is pretty about this. I don't know why I said reiteration. I should have said iteration. I tried this in gouache, better, more like how I wanted to see it in my head. And I thought I'd try a limited palette, and I liked it more. So iteration, if I can find it, I will link it in the description. There's an artist who's actually, I think he's a background artist for animation, and he said that the way that you improve is you keep doing the exact same, like thumbnails. You do a whole page of thumbnails. You do one thumbnail, and then you look at it and you think, I'm gonna change one thing. And then you do it again, and then you look at it, I'm gonna change one thing. Because he said, if you come to me to show me your artwork and it's one eye and one building and a horse, I don't know if you can draw eyes, buildings, and horses, but if I see pages and pages of eyes and pages of horses, then I know you know how to draw those things. And it's like, so that's what this is. It's iteration. I kept doing the same thing with a different, try it a different way. What is it I like? What I don't like? Can I change the part that I don't like? This whole week, this has been this last week, I was thinking I want to do a big painting, and I thought, I'm just not ready for a big painting. So I've been working on this iteration. And this was the last one, the last page. And I was like, oh yeah, that works. This is more like what pleases me, and if I did this big, I wouldn't necessarily be drawing these lines, I might be painting these lines, but the monotone of the background and then the pink sticking out in front. And in this one I didn't draw the lines, the telephone lines, because I felt like they were distracting in here and they didn't have that sharp, crisp quality that I like in urban sketching. So if I did it in a big canvas, it might make more sense to draw those in or have them be super black. But anyway, last page of the book, and I felt good about this. And so I think this is part 3 of what I need to do is right now I'm working on top of some newsprint. I just need to keep notes. I need to say, next time, do this, don't do this. I did actually do this for a while. I had a little stack of little piece of paper that I would put with a piece of art that was like a review, and it was almost like a restaurant review. Did I enjoy myself? Did I overwork it? Just a couple of questions, and then in the end I would be like, was it fun? And I would give it a 1 to 5 star rating about was it fun. So maybe my new review would be, is it pretty? And then the critique. So as I said earlier, I need to work on having more of the good guys sitting at the table, the little conference table of people who are talking to me in my head, and add in some of the people who give more constructive criticism. So that's my whole lecture. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey, this two-part journey of this finished sketchbook and my why don't I like my own art question. I hope this video wasn't tedious, and thanks for watching. Bye.